It was a cool morning in the small town of Willow Creek. The streets were quiet, birds were singing, and 82-year-old Franklin Miles started up his old motorcycle in a small wooden garage behind his farmhouse. It wasn't just any bike. It was a loud, bumpy, rust-covered 1970 Harley Davidson. Most people would have thrown it away years ago, but not Franklin. He believed if something still works, you don't throw it out just because it looks old. Franklin had lived alone on his farm for years. His wife had passed away long ago, and his kids lived in other states. But Franklin didn't mind the quiet. He liked working with his hands, fixing things, and riding his bike into town whenever he needed to. The day before, his old green tractor had broken down. Again. But Franklin knew what was wrong with it. After 40 years of fixing engines, he could tell just by the sound. So, today, he put on his leather jacket, strapped on his helmet, and headed into town to buy a part. He rode through country roads, past fields and red barns, until he reached the stoplight near the Maple Mart gas station, just before entering town. That's when he noticed the flashing red and blue lights behind him. A police car pulled up. Out stepped Officer Riley, a young woman with mirrored sunglasses and a tight ponytail. She looked at Franklin's old bike, wrinkled face, and gray beard with disbelief. "Is this some kind of joke?" she said with a smirk. Franklin didn't answer. He sat calmly, his hands resting on the handlebars. His eyes were peaceful, staring straight ahead. Officer Riley put her hand on her holstered weapon. "Turn off the engine and step off the motorcycle. License and registration." Franklin reached into his coat pocket and handed her a small brown wallet. Everything inside was neat and organized. He didn't speak. He didn't argue. Officer Riley read the license and raised her eyebrows. 82? You shouldn't be riding a machine like this." Another officer, Deputy Mason, joined her. He laughed while looking at the bike. "This thing's older than both of us put together." They made Franklin step off the bike, place his hands on the seat, and spread his feet apart. He followed every order, slow and steady like he had done 1,000 times before, back when he was training soldiers. A few people at the gas station started watching. Someone whispered, "That's old Frank. He's lived here forever." Officer Riley asked more questions. "Where do you live?" "Out past Route 16, near the old windmill." "Alone?" "Yes." "Do you have family?" "They're far away." "Don't you think it's dangerous for someone your age to ride a motorcycle like this?" Franklin didn't speak. He simply looked out at the road again. Officer Riley frowned. "I'm talking to you, sir." "I heard you," Franklin replied gently. "Then answer the question." Franklin said nothing more. Deputy Mason leaned in and whispered, "I think he might be a little confused, barely talking. Should we call someone?" Riley nodded. "Yeah, this could be a safety issue. What if he crashes into someone?" More people had gathered now. Some held phones, filming. Others shook their heads. "He's not hurting anyone." "This is just wrong." But Riley didn't back down. "We may have to bring you in for an evaluation, sir." Franklin closed his eyes for a second, took a deep breath, and stood tall, just like he used to when wearing a uniform. No one knew it yet, but this wasn't just an old man on an old bike. This was Colonel Franklin Miles, a man who had once led soldiers through war. And someone very important was already on their way to find out what was happening. While Franklin stood quietly next to his motorcycle, the officers kept asking questions and whispering to each other. They couldn't understand why he wasn't speaking much. Officer Riley started getting frustrated. "Sir, we're going to take you in for a medical check. You might not be safe to drive this thing." Franklin finally spoke again, calmly. "Based on what?" Riley looked surprised. "For your safety. You're not responding clearly." "There's no law that says I can't ride a bike just because I'm old," Franklin said. Riley crossed her arms, clearly annoyed. "You're making this difficult." Deputy Mason added, "Look, sir, we don't want to make this a big deal, but you're not cooperating." Franklin didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He simply stood there, hands behind his back, calm as ever, like a soldier on duty. Across the street at Maple Mart gas station, the owner, Mr. Darnell, was watching the whole thing. He was in his late 50s, a Gulf War veteran. As soon as he saw Franklin, he recognized him. He had known Franklin for over 10 years. Franklin came to the station every week to fill up his tank and grab coffee. Always polite, always quiet, always respectful. Seeing the officers treat him like a criminal made Mr. Darnell angry. He wiped his hands on a rag, grabbed his phone, and made a call. "Fort Logan Military Base, how can I help you?" "This is Darnell Miles from Willow Creek. I need to speak to someone right away about a veteran, Franklin Miles." There was silence on the other end. "Did you say Franklin Miles?" the voice asked. "Yes. He's being stopped by local police right now. They're treating him like he's some kind of danger. Please hold." A moment later, a different voice came on. "Mr. Miles, thank you for calling. Do not let anything happen to him. Stay where you are. Help is on the way." Back on the street, Officer Riley had made her decision. "You need to come with us now, sir." "I'm not going," Franklin said again. "This is an order." "You have no reason." The crowd watching could feel something was about to happen. The tension grew. People whispered, "Why are they arresting him?" He didn't do anything wrong. Some were recording on their phones. Others just stared in silence. And then, from far down the road, came the sound of engines. Loud, strong, steady. 12 military Humvees sped around the curve, kicking up dust as they moved. People gasped and turned to look. The vehicles stopped suddenly, forming a semicircle around the scene. The doors flew open. About 50 soldiers stepped out in perfect formation. From the lead Humvee, a tall officer in full uniform walked straight toward Franklin. His name was Captain Elijah Brooks, 55 years old with medals on his chest and a stern look on his face. He didn't even glance at the local officers. He walked right up to Franklin and stopped. Then he saluted. "Colonel Miles." Everyone went quiet. The word "Colonel" hit like thunder. Officer Riley and Deputy Mason looked shocked. Their eyes widened. Captain Brooks turned to them. "Who dared to stop Colonel Franklin Miles?" Officer Riley stepped forward, trying to speak. We didn't know he was military. We were just following rules." "All of you," Captain Brooks said, "were about to arrest a man who served 3 wars, trained thousands of troops, earned multiple honors, and gave his life to this country." The soldiers behind him took one step forward, all together. It was powerful. It was silent. It said everything. Now everyone in the crowd had their phones up, but they weren't filming to mock. They were filming history. Officer Riley's mouth was slightly open. She looked completely lost for words. Deputy Mason's face had turned pale. Captain Brooks turned to them, his voice firm but not yelling. "This man isn't just any old man. He's a decorated hero. He served in 3 wars, Vietnam, the Gulf, and Afghanistan. He trained soldiers like me. I wouldn't be standing here today if not for him." Officer Riley tried to explain. "Captain, we didn't mean any harm. We were just concerned for safety." Brooks cut her off. "Your job is to protect, not to humiliate. You judged him by what he looks like, not by who he is." The crowd behind them stayed silent, listening. Some were nodding. A few had tears in their eyes. Franklin just stood there, calm as always. But now there was a tiny smile on his face. Not a big one, just a quiet smile that said, "I'm okay." Officer Riley stepped forward, her voice softer now. "Colonel Miles, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't mean to disrespect you." Franklin looked her straight in the eyes. "Let me ask you something, officer. How long have you worn that badge?" 3 years, she replied. "And how many elderly people have you stopped for driving safely?" "None." "And how many young drivers have you stopped for texting, speeding, or drinking?" Riley paused. "A lot." Then why did you think I was the problem? Franklin asked quietly. Riley couldn't answer. She looked down, embarrassed. Captain Brooks stepped forward again. Colonel, is there anything we can do for you? Franklin shook his head. Thank you, Captain, but I think your arrival has already said enough. Brooks nodded. You've earned the respect of every soldier here, and you'll always have it. Franklin turned toward his motorcycle. The soldiers, standing in formation, opened a path for him. As he started the engine, the crowd grew silent. The Harley let out its deep, steady roar. The soldiers raised their hands in salute. Franklin rode slowly through the center of the crowd, passing through the sea of soldiers and people who now understood who he truly was. As he disappeared down the road, the entire town watched in silence. Officer Riley stood still, feeling something heavy in her chest. Not guilt, something deeper, something that felt like the beginning of a lesson she would never forget.